Oh, it's on. Okay. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Trail Talk. Yes, we have connections. I'm Edie, and I am so glad you decided to join us this afternoon. This is our special guest, Ben Herrington. Welcome, Ben.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we're so excited.
Really want to thank the Heritage Center here in the museum for having a venue for artists to show and talk about their work. It's really special.
Oh, well, we are so glad that we can. If anything good came from the pandemic,
this is
it. Trail Talk is one of those really good things that came from that. So Ben is a local artist. He's brought several of his pieces, and so he's going to kind of walk us through his journey, I guess. Anyway, you're gonna find this shocking. He told me he's been doing art for about 50 years.
I'm old.
I think he is not really that old. I mean,
I'm 63
I'm
years
so
old.
much younger than that myself that I just know that can't be right.
I've been making art so long I forgot that I've been making art.
Right, there you go. So anyway, Ben, why don't you start us out? These are such interesting pieces here. I'm going to step back a little bit so they can see all of this woodworking that you have here. Tell us about this.
Yeah, when you extended me the invitation, I really thought about what work I wanted to show and what work I wanted to talk about. And, I'm probably best known locally for the birdhouses. I've been making those birdhouses, had made those birdhouses for more than 12 years, and that was a medium that I've worked in for 12 years. It's technically an assemblage art. It's sculpture that represents birdhouses. But I stopped making the birdhouse sculptures about a year ago, and I felt like I had exhausted all the creativity that I could draw from the material that I was using, and I wanted really to get back to producing two-dimensional art. And that's the art I produced for more than 30 years before I started building the sculpture. So I really want to get back to that, but I also wanted to keep. One of the things I enjoyed about my assemblage work was I realized how much I like building things. I love to build textures, and I love to build dimensions. So I wanted to keep that aspect of my art in place, but move to something that was a little more versatile. So about February, I started working in what most people call paper collage. It's a mixed medium technique that involves any number of different mediums on different surfaces, from paper to wood to a variety of things. But I brought 4 pieces that kind of walk through a transition from that to the paper collage. And the first 2 are my birdhouses. These are 2 of the most recent ones that I made. And from, about 2007 through 2018, I made about, I think I numbered all of them. This is number 562.
Wow.
So as I moved from these pieces into more of the flat work or two-dimensional, you can see a little bit of that evolution. I've always done quite a bit of caricature art and portraits. So these are what we're calling my dolls. I built them as, basically I described them as they were wooden dolls.
Okay.
But then in January, February, I began to move more into two-dimensional work. So this is one of the first pieces that I built that incorporated both the woodworking skills that I had developed along with two-dimensional art. So the images that are here were images that I produced in paper using different techniques, either pen and ink, illustrator pens or art markers you call them, watercolor, acrylic paint, whatever tended to work and give me the best image that I was looking for. And then I plastered them onto the wood and built my own frames. And so you can kind of see a little bit of a transition as I went into the collage work.
Well, let me ask you a question. So to create one of these, which these are no longer in the works, these are a finished season. He wanted to call these seasons. This is a finished, the season is over.
It is. Maybe one of these days, but not now.
Like, just time-wise, kind of help us understand, how much time would you put into one of the birdhouses?
One of the things when I started with the assemblage work, one of the most important things about this was I wanted to use reclaimed material. I didn't want to buy wood or use fresh wood. I wanted everything that I incorporated into the piece to be either found or repurposed. So I would have to spend about half of my time collecting the pieces in wood that I wanted to incorporate into the sculpture. So I described this process, I have described it in previous shows. It's a lot like pottery, a lot like ceramics. You gather your clays or you gather your material, and then you build a run of plates or bowls or things that you're building, and the birdhouses follow that same pattern. I will accumulate a large collection of wood. I'll identify the pieces I want, and I'll throw them on a table, and I'll usually would have built these about 5 or 6 at a time. So when I start laying out the pieces as I see them, how they may fit, then the piece that I don't use on this house goes to the next one and to the next one. So when I was active building the pieces, I would typically build 5 or 6 at a time.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah,
if you just like built just the one,
no, it was impossible.
If you would put,
because once you dump all that wood on the table, you got to do something with it.
Right.
And if you try to build one piece at a time and put it all back and then gather, and when I say wood, I would say the wood that I collected occupied about the size of a one-car garage. So I had to accumulate quite a bit of wood. So
to make 5 or 6.
Well, to make all the pieces that I made. If I were preparing for a show, my first large show was Paseo 2010, and I brought 60 pieces to that show. So for me to be able to build 60 pieces in a time frame that I needed to prepare for that show, I would have to really get a run going. And so you have to have a lot of wood available, because you don't want to stop and go out and try to gather more wood or put it all away, because you need it right there where you're working. So that was hectic, but it was very creative, because repurposed wood, the wood you find, it basically tells you what you want to do with it. It'll show you. If you're open and you have your imagination window open, it'll tell you where to put me and what I want you to do with me, and it'll kind of speak for itself. So it tends to flow pretty easy once you get started.
Yeah. So were these, I mean, some of these are in fairly good shape. Is that the kind of wood that you collected, or did you have to sand or varnish?
Oh, you always have to prepare and work on it. I've said this many times, and if we have time, I could go into it much further, but what I discovered with the repurposed wood is really spoke to my spiritual life, that it was a statement of my faith. And when I would gather the wood, all of this stuff was thrown away. People discarded it, and that is how life is sometimes. You know, but I would look at the wood and find something special use for it. So it was a reaffirmation of my belief and faith that you could take things that are thrown away, you could love them, you could work with them, you could repurpose them, and then you could save them. And so all the wood has a history. Every piece has a story. What home it came out of, how did it end up where it was, what did it do before this life, and that was part of the journey for me. It's kind of a reaffirmation of how what I believe in as a Christian. So that made it a whole lot easier, and made it easier to be creative. But the wood needs work. Everything that I take either had to be taken apart and sanded or cleaned, recut. So I might take a plank that's taken from a piece of furniture that's thrown away, and that will work into 3 or 4 different birdhouses. So I built a woodworking shop where I could cut the wood to the dimensions that I needed it to build the basic boxes. And then I added all the pieces that I had scrounged up over the years. I kept them in tubs, literally stacked. The wooden shoes we were finding at antique stores and different things. I was building so many of those, they were hard to find. And my wife Sherry went online, she went on eBay, and she found a guy up in Montana that had just closed a shoe factory. He made children's shoes. And I came home one day, and there were crates of these wooden shoes. She bought the guy out. And I get home, and I have like 1,500 pairs of these shoes. So I have a lifetime supply of baby wood shoe.
Baby wood shoe. Hey, that's awesome. You guys know if anyone's looking, anyone's in the market, you know
I've got
where
them.
Ben's got some. Okay, so then you moved to this type, and this is still the reclaimed wood,
Yes,
the
it is.
repurposed.
Yeah, it is wood that's repurposed. The images of the church and the crow and different things are cut from wood. The church itself is cut. I use a scroll saw and I cut the image out, and then I colored and painted it, and then built it as an assemblage piece. But it was really kind of my first venture into going back to drawing and painting, which is how it all started. You know.
And tell us about that. Tell us kind of your beginning in art.
Well, I have drawn every day of my life since I was probably about 12 years old, and started as simply a doodle, and I really thought and discovered some talent there in junior high school and pursued it. I draw every day, and I have since that time, and I did attend formal training in art school, Northern Virginia Community College and the Corporate Art Institute, where I received formal training in illustration, and so that was the basis for my two-dimensional works, and I worked for about 20 years bivocationally as a banker and commercial artist and illustrator before software put me out of business as an illustrator, but led me to other things. So getting back to the two-dimensional work, being able to draw and paint
Let's
and color.
move down here where we can see.
What I enjoy most about the work I'm producing now, what you see here was produced from parts of the work I've produced since February. And when I get into something, I really get into it. And working back in the two-dimensional area without the use of the repurposed wood has allowed me to creative freedom that I haven't had in a long time. The wood kind of tells you what to do. There are limitations on what you can do with it, but when I'm creating my own images, I can create them any size, any color, anything that I want. So what I discovered quickly as I started producing work was the colorist in me came out. I started using bolder colors because I could, and I enjoyed them greatly. So I picked out some pieces. Again, when Edie extended the invitation, I wanted to pick out some pieces that were reflective of kind of our Southwest landscapes. So the pieces you see today are incorporate some of the landscapes you see around you and some of the images that you see around you with wildlife. So I brought those pieces, but it's also a transition. All of these pieces include some bit of wood assemblage, even though they're two-dimensional. I still built my own frames. I built my own foundations for the pieces. You know, again, as I was letting go of the woodworking and embracing the two-dimensional art, I just kind of I held on to it for a while, and so as I started building two-dimensional pieces, I just went ahead and I built my frames. I built my foundation for those. So most of the work I produce now is unframed. It's all on paper. And the reason I like that is it has the flexibility that I can work quickly, I can work fast. The material that I use are primarily markers, graphic pencils, watercolors, things that dry quickly. I use acrylic glazes to attach the paper collage. And what this piece is one of the first pieces I've done in collage. Starts with what's called a cradled wood panel. The surface and the background is prepared in paint, acrylic paint, watercolor, and a couple of different washes. And then all of the main features here are paper collage. I take the paper, I draw the image, I color it, and then I cut it out, usually with scissors, X-Acto knife, or swivel knife, and then I attach it to the panel in a collage technique. I use an acrylic medium. If you're an acrylic artist or acrylic painter, you know, you use the medium to extend your paint. It's also a good glue and a good glaze. So I use that medium to glaze the paper pieces on there.
So you're talking about something you add to the paint?
I'll add the paint. I use the medium to glue the paper onto the panel.
Okay.
So when I've got the background that I want, and I'm ready to apply the individual images, and these are individual pieces of paper that I have colored, cut out, and then glued to the panel. And as you can see, this piece probably has about 60 pieces of paper that are individually cut out and colored, and then I use the medium to prepare the panel, and then I glue it on there, and then I glaze over it so it has a varnish.
So this was all wood,
Mhm.
and then these pieces, these smaller pieces that you added, that's the paper part that you put on there.
The panel itself is wood.
Mhm.
I painted the border. I painted the background. But all of these pieces, the birds,
Mhm.
flowers, trees, those are individual pieces of paper that I cut out, like a tile, like you're setting tile, basically.
Mhm.
A bit more primitive than some of the work I'm producing now. Now the collages have taken on a lot more detail and a lot more technical work in cutting those out. So some of the
Right.
pieces, as you see here,
There you go.
this one or this one in particular, each one of those circles are cut paper.
Wow.
I'll draw the circle, I'll cut it out, and I'll inlay it right back into the place where it was after it's colored. So there's quite a bit of overlay and what I call inlay work in the individual papers that I use. And all of them are drawn on paper, they're cut, colored, and then glued onto the wood surface.
So, like your the birds, are these foxes? The flowers. Where do you get the inspiration for combining
I doodle a
different
lot.
things? Okay. You mentioned you started out as like a cartoonist.
Yeah,
Was that your...
since I draw every day, and I have for so many years, I have a pretty large archive of images, and I've encouraged any artist. You know, the one thing you do every day is to draw. That's the basis for all art, and creating those images regularly keeps them fresh in my mind. So I may remember an image that I drew 2 years ago, pull it out, and use part of that image or part of that memory to create the image that I want. These are primarily some landscape work, so I drew from Southwest Oklahoma. You know, the hawks, the red hawks and the grass and the prairie grass. These are things I see every day, and the skies that we have, the beautiful cloudscapes and the landscapes are things that are around us all the time. So I wanted to incorporate those in my work. And then as I develop an image, I tend to keep it. Sometimes I will even repeat it, as you can see. And typically what I do there is I have a what's called a light board. And if I discover an image I like and I want to repeat it over and over and over, I'll slide it under that paper, hit the backlight, and I can just keep repeating that image and draw it over and over. So
just a tracing.
Just a basic tracing, and the light board illuminates behind the paper, and you can easily see the image and trace it. So when I see something I like, I want to repeat it, then I use that light board. It also brings out the color. So if I'm working in the papers and I want to see what the color looks like after the varnishes or glazes, because the colors change once you glaze them. They'll go on relatively flat. The markers, the illustration markers and watercolors that I use are flat. They're flat medium. So to get those colors out, you have to be able to see them after you've applied the varnishes or the glazes, where it tends to illuminate it. So the light board helps me see the piece, what it will look like when I'm done. So I use that light board quite a bit.
So just kind of comparing the time spent on the sculpture, you didn't have to go out and physically gather and bring in all sorts of things.
That's really cool.
So you know
Plus, I told you earlier, when I was a woodworker, I couldn't sit in the studio and have a beer while I worked. Yeah, now I can. So, anyway. And I'm very proud of the years I'm woodworking. I still have all my digits, by the way.
Well, there you go. Not like a shop teacher.
Hello. There's actually some similar processes to the assemblage work that's here, because I will do 4 or 5 of these at a time. And typically what I will do is I will size my background. I'll know what format I want to work in, what size I want to work in, and I may prepare 3 or 4 panels at a time. So I've got them ready to go. They're ready for the images that I'm preparing. So when I begin to piece together the collages, I will spend a lot of time coloring, cutting the pieces. I just put them aside. It's like a puzzle.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking that
I'll see the image and I'll have drawn what I want to do and produce, but because you're working in paper collage, you have to build it. So I'll start working all of the pieces that fit into this: the hawks, the inlaid trees, the grass, which you can feel is raised because that's an overlay.
Oh.
These are inlaid, where I've actually cut with a X-Acto knife and cut those in so they're flat. And the way you do that is you put two pieces of paper together and you cut your lines, so when you take them apart, they fit together like an inlay.
Okay.
So I'll spend the time preparing, coloring those pieces. I'll set them aside, then I'll move, say, to this one, and I'll cut my flowers and I'll cut my birds or hawks or whatever images I'm using. I'll put them all in groups, and then when I'm ready to start building the panels, then I'll just move ahead. Okay, I'll finish 4 or 5 at a time, and then I'll go get 4 or 5 more panels and do the same thing. So it was a very similar process to the birdhouses.
Right.
I tended to make more than one.
Well, and so you're putting together like a large number of pieces right now for a possibility to show, sell, that sort of thing in the future.
Right.
So it's not like you've been commissioned to produce one thing.
No,
So
no.
you working on doing several. I can see where that would be a good way to spend your time. And if you're going to repeat some of these, to do all that at the same time, it makes a lot of sense. It's the banker side of him working in on that.
Analytics. I guess typically a week for me, I may end up with 6 pieces done by the end of the week, but nothing happens till the last day. I spend the entire week drawing images, drawing the things I want, making them colorized, cutting them out, putting them in groups where I can get to them quickly. When you work in collage work and you're using acrylic mediums, they dry very quickly. So you really have to have everything laid out, and once you start, there's always a risk that you have to stop, and when you stop is when you tend to make mistakes and you have to start over again. So everything kind of has to be in a bit of a methodical way, but once I'm in the process of building the panel, then the creativity, the joy of making art happens. So the rest of it is more study and preparation. So I can start Monday, and you'll not see a single work until Friday, and then Friday I'll have 6 pieces because I've spent all week, with my head this close to the paper, making images, cutting those out.
Wow, that's very interesting. So you plan things out in detail before you assemble your pieces.
I do. A lot of collage artists, a lot of mixed media artists, and I'm always jealous of those who can do that, are very spontaneous. You see a lot of mixed media pieces that, my pieces all have fairly hard lines, they're very defined spaces, the images are, clear. And a lot of collage artists that I've looked at and known they grab all this stuff and they just start putting it together, and creativity takes over and they end up with a completed piece. And I've never been able to do that. I just can't. It's not in me. I'm a planner and a plotter, and I have to think things through pretty methodically before I start working.
Right, but look at this, the results. All of that planning, you can see
it never turns out exactly like I wanted. By the way, all the birdhouses I built, there's not a single one of them that didn't have mistakes in it. Every one of them had a mistake or an error or something I forgot to do. When you work in assemblage, you have to make sure you work in stages. And you're building those birdhouses, you see with the complexity that they're built, you can't skip any steps. So there are oftentimes those pieces, and these two, excuse me, I will start and I realize I made a mistake. I didn't lay this piece first. And that's what learning to master your medium can teach you, is then you have to adapt. Then you have to say, well, it's not exactly what I wanted, not what I started with, but what can I make it now? So you kind of back up, set the piece aside, think about it a different way. I can't go back and refix it, so I'll just add to it and layer on top of it. Basically.
Oh, so you do.
I can't do that.
You
I have
do
done that.
Okay.
A bunch.
Well, hey, that's what every artist that I've talked to, they have admitted reluctantly that they've made mistakes, but they find ways to use that.
I don't know of any artist that has ever produced a piece that was exactly the way they wanted it.
I think that's great for young artists because, you know, they mess up and,
Oh, I know.
you know, and throw it aside, but there's no reason to do that.
No.
It's okay. Just look at it. What can you make with it now?
That's correct. That's exactly it. That's how you master a medium, and that is the goal of every artist, whatever medium you work in. You want to be a master of it. At some point down the road, you want to be able to get to that point where you're not making the kind of mistakes that are fatal, you know, that ruin a piece or change a piece significantly. So that's part of the that's really part of the joy of making art. Really is the skill sets that you develop. More themes. You know, obviously, when the Indian paintbrushes bloom.
I love this one.
I mean, I was out in the field doing some drawings, and I draw a lot outside. I'll take my sketch pad and I'll stop and sketch things that I see, or I'll take a picture of my iPhone and come home at night and sketch it out. And these are some common themes around our part of the country. Our wildflowers are beautiful when they bloom, and I picked that wildflower, took it home, did a study of it, did the drawings, and then incorporated them into a piece. I have several pieces of the old farmhouses that are around us.
I've noticed that, and you do them in black. Well, no, that one has some color.
Most
on
of
it.
those started as pen and ink drawings. I'll either sketch and then I'll come back over the top of that with a pen and ink technique, and then I'll just keep them. I have about 50 of those in a drawer. When I want to produce a piece that has a landscape theme, I pull that out and incorporate it into the piece. This is a little bit of assemblage work still. These were 3 panels that I love butterflies and I love the color.
Right.
It's a cathedral kind of setting as I think about things about my faith, and you know, that was a cocoon, and the piece is all about you know, change. What happens when you go through changes?
Right.
And we all do that, and we all go through that. So
That's a really nice piece.
thank you. As
do you ever think about doing big? These are, you know, these are a lot smaller.
I'm working that direction. The size I work is great because I get through pieces a lot. Sometimes one of the hardest things for me to work on as an artist is discipline and patience. I've always been an artist that wanted to get it done. And I think that was just from the way I'm wired, the way I work. I have a hard time walking away from a piece before it's finished when I start it. So I'm trying to work through some of those self-discipline issues that I have. I want to work in larger formats, but to be able to do that, you've got to walk away from it, and I find that hard to do. So the size is good for me. It works. They're easy to store.
True.
I can work pretty quickly, and I am a businessman, and my art is my business when I'm working the art. So. One of the things I learned early on as an artist is smaller pieces have smaller price points. They tend to sell more quickly. So not everybody has room in their house for 4x4 painting, but everybody has room for an 8x8 or a 12x12. So, and if I keep my price points low, then I tend, as I've told you, I work quickly when I work, and I produce a lot. So for me, I can stand in the studio and watch them build up in boxes, or I can put them together and put a show together.
So do you have a studio at your house?
I do. I have. I'm blessed to have about 1,200 square feet. I have my own bathroom. Nice. I could just live there.
Sherry sometimes
and listen, during the pandemic, that's what I do.
Oh, yeah.
I get home from work and I head to that studio and I work until I have to go to bed. And,
right.
I'm blessed to have a place, but you know, you can work from wherever you are. And one of the nice things about the two-dimensional work is you don't need as much space. So I can work in an area. All I really need is a desk and a place to store my paper and mediums, and I can produce work. So these works are all on wood panels or wood frames. But the work I produce now is on paper, and that's one of the reasons I can produce it quickly at high volumes. I can stack it up in the box and put it aside and don't have to worry about it.
Right. I do want to say that if you ever decided to go really big, this one right here, I mean, can't you just see 3 big panels.
I've started working in some larger formats. I'm up to like 24 inches by 24 inches now. So, pretty soon you need space to do that. You need a space to work. And if I do 5 of those at a time, then I need quite a bit more space than I am. So I will get there eventually.
That would be a lot of cutting.
It's a lot.
And
It's a lot. But that's okay. I
Yeah,
enjoy doing it. The cutting is
fantastic.
really, back to the woodworking skills. I like working with my hands. I like building. I like cutting and taking things, putting them together. So the cutting side of this is at times a bit frustrating because you create an image, you really like it, and you start with a knife and you cut it, and all of a sudden you slice off a corner you didn't want to slice off. And so you've got to start all over again or modify that piece. So it's a skill set that comes along. And just like an artist who paints, you have to work on your brushwork and your brush techniques to get the images you want. So that comes with it. I have a lot of these. I was a caricature artist, a portrait artist for a long time, so I saved a lot of my images.
She makes me think of the dolls.
That's actually a bit of a portrait of my mom who passed away several years ago, but that's kind of what she looked like. And she was a bit of a character, and she was the artist in my family as I grew up.
I was wondering if there was
I got that from
an
her.
influence.
I got that from my mom's side. She was a wonderful artist and seamstress, and her medium was cloth. She made clothes and she made stuff for everybody, so she was pretty good at it.
So do you have an artist or some artists that you really like their work, or they inspire you?
Yeah, there's one every week. I love the study of art and artists, and they're obviously some of the 60s, 50s collage artists is Nicole DeCamp, and some of those that I admire because of their ability to, take material and turn it into masterpieces and do it quickly and do it in such large volumes. I think the artist I like the most is M.C. Escher. He was a German artist that was an amazing printmaker. He was a beautiful artist, but if you look at his work and the prints that he generated, it's amazing. He was a mathematician, so his work incorporates patterns and designs that are based on mathematical calculations. And then he took those mathematics, he took those theories, and he created images and art. He didn't just do it on paper. He actually was a woodblock printer. And these are way more complicated than anything I've done. If you can imagine all these things flowing together, ducks that turn into frogs and things that happen, they all fit together mathematically. He carved those out of the woodblock and printed them. So, which takes it to a whole nother skill level. It's not enough to be a mathematician and to figure out how the images go together. It's not enough to know how to dimension them and create them. He actually cut them out of wood, printed them with ink, and made prints from them. So, which is amazing. So, if you get a chance to ever Google him, he's incredible. Gustav Klimt is another artist I admire greatly because he used colors boldly, patterns. I love patterns. I love to see patterns emerging from the work that fit together and help frame an image or thought.
Yeah. So is this the wind?
Yeah, partly. That was a mistake.
Really?
Actually. It started as
it's so fun.
It started as a landscape, and I had this drawing of the old farmhouse, and I wanted to do something very simple. Sometimes I get too complicated. My pieces get too complicated, and I wanted to try and do something in a really simple manner. So I started with a simple sky and a simple piece of land. I tried to add some three-dimensional features with my background.
I was just noticing the texture.
It turned out terrible.
It's like you can see the marker strokes.
It was ugly.
Or something.
That's paper. The background is paper. It's mounted on wood, and I used an art marker. And I didn't like the texture that all by itself. It was ugly. And If you've ever taken a drafting course in high school or used drafting tools, these are plastic templates. They help you form curves and arcs and different things. I have several of them, so I just started putting those on paper, adding the designs, and then I overlaid. So I turned a mistake into a piece I really like.
There you go.
But
See, perfect example. Perfect
yeah, and
example.
I wanted to see, we have, our landscapes are, if you're not from this area, our landscapes can appear plain.
Mm-hmm.
But if you spend any time in our landscapes, you realize it's not plain at all. It's always moving, either by the wind or by the growth of the plants, and things are always moving. Wildlife is always moving, and things are always happening. So that was what I was thinking about when I built that piece.
Yeah, I definitely, I see that. That looks like a windy day to me.
We have that, don't we?
We do. We sure do. I like this one. I love the barbed wire, just the whole.
There was a mistake here too. I originally had this piece without the additional sparrows. It was intended to be a relatively simple landscape with a sky house and grass. I added the barbed wire, and the birds that I originally added were black. And I'm determined not to do dark work. I just don't feel good about it. So as I developed the piece, I kept going back to those sparrows and saying, this is just not right. It's not. The black was cool, but it didn't fit. So I actually did a paper overlay. I redrew the birds the way I wanted them to look with some color, and then I collaged them on top of the blackbirds. So I covered it. I covered my mistakes.
There you go. There you go. But I can imagine the black ones, but I do think that looks, that just the muted colors really fits.
Those are two. I was on my way to play golf one day, saw them sitting on a barbed wire fence, took that picture. And then, of course, you can see these trees in farmhouses. They're everywhere around here, everywhere you go.
So do you sketch from something in your head, or
Both.
do you take pictures?
Both. I'll do a little field work occasionally if I'm on a trip or I have the time. Otherwise, I will either take a quick shot with my iPhone or I'll just remember it. And if you see this stuff enough, it's not hard to forget what it looks like.
Right.
So,
exactly.
Yeah.
This one, are these angels?
They are.
That looks like, that's beautiful.
I do a lot of angel themes. I didn't bring as many of them today, but I do angel themes, and I do, again, themes that speak to my faith. And
I see that, like the architectural design there on the back. Very much like a church window, stained glass thing. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Very pretty piece. And I really like this piece right here.
That piece it's actually an earlier piece than that one. It's one
Then
of
the trees, the first trees that we looked at.
This one is actually, that is all paint. That's acrylic paint. That's acrylic paint. The house is paper collage.
Okay.
And everything but the house is just a painted piece of wood. But the house I made separate out of paper and then collaged it on.
So this is just an old farmhouse you saw around here somewhere?
Not around here.
Okay.
We were down in Texas when I saw that house. I took a picture of it.
Because this one, I could see it here somewhere or in a grassland area, but it could also look like a beach. With the soft.
That's what Sherry said. She asked me if
there.
that was from the beach. I said no.
But you could. If someone liked that or had that.
There are a lot of
look.
similarities with beach landscapes and prairie landscapes. They have the combination of that land and sky. And a lot of the paperwork I'm doing right now is pretty simple. I'll have a large section for the sky, a small section for the land, and I'll do a lot of cloud work. And I'll work on dozens of different cloud images. I'll cut them out, lay them out, and see how they work together. I think Oklahoma's blessed to have some of the most beautiful sky in the world.
I 100% agree.
And
Yes.
on any given day, the way that sky stretches out, and you can see the clouds moving and see things happening. I could probably do endless landscapes and just clouds and not be unhappy at all.
The lyric, on a clear day you can see forever.
Yeah.
I don't know if the guys that wrote that song, Rodgers Hammerstein, I don't know if they came here and got that lyric, but I always think of that when I'm looking out at the sky and just, you know, you can see
I do too.
for miles.
Having spent some time at the ocean, a lot of times our landscapes remind me of that. The way, you know, where our land sometimes looks a bit like a dune, and we have the grass that waves, and the ocean's always windy, so there's some similarities there for sure.
Yeah. Well, Ben, this collection, I called it his coronavirus collection. I don't know if you know, he said he started this in February.
Maybe we should do a show just,
the pandemic pieces.
After
I don't
pandemic.
know. There's a lot of opportunity for naming this collection here.
I'm going to build about 100 pieces before I start showing. We'll look into, Sherry and I are looking into 2021 and see what venues we'd like to show at, and some galleries and old friends that we'd like to kind of show it off first. And I'm also trying to learn how to develop prints from my work. I was never able to do that with the wood sculptures, but now that I have the flat work, I want to be able to develop prints and market the prints and keep the originals.
And don't you all think that the prints would just be fantastic? I see
You're
the
very
colors
kind.
and designs, everything. I just imagine prints really being an easy thing for you to sell.
Well, you know you're on to something when it comes easy. And sometimes you fight your mediums and they fight you back, and but eventually if you slide into a style that fits you and fits the way you work, then it just becomes easy. It becomes second nature.
Well, maybe when he gets this 100 pieces, the century
I'm close.
mark.
I got about 60.
He's about 2/3 away there, so maybe he'll be able to share some with us. You know, who knows?
I'd forgotten how much I hate, as a two-dimensional artist, when I did shows, I'd forgotten how much I hated buying frames. I hated the cost and the expense of the frames, and if you accumulate a lot of them and store them, they end up getting nicked up or torn up. So I'm trying to deal with that a little bit right now. I have a lot of pieces that are ready to be framed. I just don't know that I want to spend the money.
And you don't want to build them all.
No, I don't. I can't do that anymore.
You
I
walked
actually
away from them.
liquidated the entire woodworking shop.
Oh,
It's
wow.
gone.
Wow.
I did that in...
So when he says no more birdhouses, that's what he means.
All of it's gone. I sold all the tools and sold all the pieces I had. I've got about 25 sculptural pieces that are in my collection. They'll stay there. Kids have told me, nope, that one stays. So we'll keep those. But I knew it was time, and when I knew it was time, the only way I could make that leap was to completely leave the old medium. So I got rid of all the wood. I still have the baby shoes. I have about 1,000 pairs of wooden baby shoes. I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but they're stored away.
I bet you can come up with something.
I don't know. Maybe one of these days. It could come back, but for now, no, it's done.
Well, Ben, as you know, the people who collected your birdhouses, I'm sure that they were sad to see you stop that. But look at what has emerged as a result of these wouldn't be here if you hadn't stepped away from that.
I did. You know, some of the larger pieces, as I began to donate those for charities, that was another. It meant a lot to me because I could take work that I produced. Now, really, all I had in it was my time, because the wood was repurposed. I found it, so it didn't cost me anything, and so I had just my time in it. But if I could take that piece and it could go to an auction, and that auction could raise hundreds of dollars for a charity, then it was a real blessing to me, and I was happy to do that for a few years. But don't call me, because I have no more birdhouses.
He's through. Sorry.
I have no more.
Sorry, he's all done. Well, you know, this has been so great to look at what you're doing now and to see how you got here. And Ben, we're really excited to see what all you put together for this collection.
Let's talk about a show here.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Don't you guys think that'd be fun?
Love to do that. I love showing locally, and love that my community can be part of it. So we'll put that together pretty soon.
All right, man, that makes me excited.
Need a big crowd.
Oh, come on, we can make a crowd. We can make a crowd, right? Well,
Again, I want to thank you guys. You provide an incredible venue for artists, and there aren't enough of those around. And all of us need a place to show and talk about our art. And it's really cool what you do. It really is.
Well, thank you. We are so glad that we can. So I guess it's time for us to sign off for today. So we let everybody unmute. Looks like they might be unmuted already.
They're leaving us already.
Right?
Okay.
And, yeah. No, they're still there. But we say happy trails together.
Okay, ready?
Yeah. 1, 2, 3.
Happy
trails.